Cha cha cha, she moves so slight underneath the velvet sky.
Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. I'm in an undisclosed location now, and we are talking about what it's like to take a creative retreat. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat.
Hi, James.
I've been sitting here overthinking something.
Me too. Oh my God.
And I've had all these ideas how to get in this, but you are in the undisclosed location.
I am. I'm right here.
As we speak. It's like it's happening now.
Yeah.
You know, and I can see a giant tank of tequila behind you. So.
Hey now. Well, honestly, usually I'm 3 hours behind you, and now I'm 5 hours ahead, and I'm absolutely in the middle of happy hour. So good luck.
Yeah, I'm middle of the workday here, Pat, trying to get shit done.
Sorry about that. Fuck you.
Oh, you entitled bitch.
Oppositional defiance disorder.
Yeah, I know. Two people, with oppositional defiance disorder,
How can we ever?
Here we are.
We can't even have a conversation. Okay, so I'm here. Man, I was telling you earlier, I haven't really had an extended period of time to myself for 24 years. It sounds so awful when I say it that way.
Yeah. Well, you've had vacations and that kind of thing, but not like the block of just.
Yes. I have actually very few vacations, and I went 10 years without a vacation, and I had children, obviously, and not obviously, but I did have them, and I had I had obligations and a business and stuff like that. So I still have obligations in a business. I still have children, thank God. But the thing that's changed is in the last 12 days of being here, I can get up and my time is basically my own. I haven't had that experience in a quarter century.
Wow.
It's actually a kind of it's surprisingly challenging.
Really?
Yeah, not because I don't know what to do. I always have shit to do, but because I don't know how to feel about being able to direct my own time. It's like a weird, I'm so used to being under the gun that when I can choose, and I'm basically working half hours, I'm still working on client stuff, but I'm mostly privileging my own creative work here. And it's, if I get to even 1 p.m. and I haven't written a word on my novel, I'm like, what are you fucking doing here? The self-flagellation that goes on is intense. Yeah. So I have to remember, I was in severe burnout. It took me the first week to even get my scene list together, like figure out my theme or my North Star, the way you put it. And just do a bunch of sort of conceptual work on the thing. And then now I'm writing, I've got scenes that I'm like, they're really, it's fun, but it's also like, I'm ready to quit. Probably 2 scenes in a day, like 3,000 words or whatever, and then, but that's okay. I'm not here to set a speed record. I'm here to actually write the fucking thing, and so it's a weird space. Actually, it's a strange space to be in.
There's a contradiction in there. I'm not here to set a speed record, but I'm here to write the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I'm here to write the fucking thing. So the speed record is I don't care what the word count is. I really don't. I know you go by word count. I don't. I just feel like I have so many, I have so much bandwidth for creating, and yet I know I can always exceed my bandwidth if I push myself. So, and then sometimes gold comes out, so I have this own internal sort of story about, a narrative about how I work. And then I have also this other narrative about how I've been working really hard for my entire life. And this is probably the last, maybe not the last time, but one of the few times I will have this kind of privilege, right? Of going for a
Hmm.
walk by the ocean, of like stretching my fascia for half an hour. It's weird. Like I'm so used to tracking my time when I work 10, 12-hour days that I don't I'm sometimes, I'm not at loose ends, but I'm kind of like disorganized in my thinking. And I
Uh-huh.
and I think it's got to be okay. I'm a human being. I've been in, like, it feels like I was in jail for 20. I don't want to put it that way, but it feels like people suffer
Yeah.
in jail. I wasn't in jail. I was self-imposed workaholic. I don't even want to say workaholic. I was a very hard worker, and I'm still a really hard worker who's now like discovering that I have a hard time relaxing.
Yeah. Well, so jail, maybe not the right way to phrase it, but trapped is a certain, whether it's a trap of your own making or
Yeah.
constructed around you. Um, Certainly. I mean, I can absolutely relate to that. I think anybody
Yeah.
who's listening can relate to that.
Yeah.
Because we fall into routines, and routines provide security, predictability. We know what we're doing, and here you are. This isn't. I'm taking a week and I'm going to lounge around or something like this. This is a
Mm.
month, right?
This is a month.
Substantive amount of time.
Yeah.
And it is a huge break in the routine
Yeah.
and the predictable. And so I'm wondering too if there's a little bit, there's sort of like this guilt plus work ethic plus the groove, right? Because
Yeah.
you get into that groove that's all working on you, and you've got to break free of that.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, that's really articulates it really well. And break free of what? Like, well, so what's the groove? Is that the
The
fact that
groove
I'm
is the
letting?
routine,
Oh
being,
yeah.
getting up,
Yeah.
doing the work, your daily, everything you've been doing for 25 years, taking
Yeah.
care of the kids, making the dinners for, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Um,
groove is pretty deep. It is strange to have those obligations disappear, and then
mhm,
you know um and then you do what you want to do, but also I've have made more progress on my pension projects in the last week, and we'll talk
mhm,
about those separately. But they're like passive income projects than I have in the previous 2, 3
mhm.
years. It's
Yeah.
just incredible because I can't write fiction all the time. I have to fill up the well and all that stuff, and or stock the pond, however you want to put it. Um, so those are uh, it's a nice mix of being completely self-directed. I don't know what I would do if I had a month off without work or writing. I actually don't know how I would deal
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's disorienting for you right now.
Yeah, it is.
And
And I don't
what's,
speak the language. I speak
yeah.
a few words, and I'm studying it for like half an hour a day, which isn't very
Uh-huh.
much, but I'm getting there. But yeah, it is disorienting. Yet it's such a beautiful place, and the people are so kind, and it's easy to live here. And I paid all the money up front, so I'm living in basically a small apartment in a very cool area of town near the ocean. I got nothing to complain about, and I'm finding it surprisingly um, challenging on the mental health level.
Yeah, interesting. And so
Yeah.
what's going to be when we check back in a week
Ooh.
to see, because I don't think this is a permanent condition. I think this is part of the cycle
Yeah.
of escape or unwinding, however, you want to phrase
Yeah.
it,
I agree.
that you're going to go through a period of this sort of the initial, kind of shock of here I am, right?
Yeah.
And how do I set up routines,
Yeah, that
right?
was last week. Yeah.
And so then you get into this disorientation piece, and you're going to fight against it, push against it. And maybe it'll be interesting to see if by the time you have to come home,
Mm,
where you're at.
I
And
know.
maybe you'll be like, oh, I can't wait to get back home because I miss the routine, I miss the responsibilities, I miss people, those kinds of things, or you're going to be like, fuck all that.
Yeah. I'm
Who needs
actually,
that?
yeah. Well, I have just started taking weekends off for real this year after about a 3-year period where my mom was really, a lot of work and challenging. And I had to work weekends to make up for the time that I had to spend helping her. So the thing that I'm finding now, I'm not actually fighting the disorientation. I'm just accepting it because there's nothing else I can do. I don't want to struggle
Yeah.
against the disorientation because I think it's a necessary part of my experience.
Yeah.
And so I'm just okay with feeling disoriented,
Yeah.
and I give myself permission to feel disoriented. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, and that's I think that not fighting against it like you're consciously having a plan, but
Yeah.
the sort of evolution away from, we'll call it the groove, because
Yeah.
you fall into an etched groove.
Mm.
And you have to go through this process of getting through that to where where you're at and what you're doing feels right and normal and,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I don't know if you have to ever feel right about your life.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious because I don't. I think in the discomfort, in the margins is where your fucking growth happens. I know I sound like an asshole, but it's honestly, I'm just like, okay, I have this other aspect of me that was just overworking nobody asked me to do all that overwork. Nobody suggested it would be a good way to live my life. I did it to myself. And the novel I'm writing is about that. Right? It's the Frankenstein novel. How do you reinvent yourself when you're drowning, right? And it's just so interesting it's really cathartic, actually.
Oh, that's great. How to reinvent yourself when you're drowning. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Have you yet, had the moment where you said I should become a yoga instructor and live here?
No, but I have had the moment where I've said I should actually study this language for a year. And so I can be comfortable because there's so many countries in the world that speak some version of Spanish that I just think, why wouldn't I? I've been pretty lazy just speaking English my entire life, and French. We're taught French in school in Canada, but I don't speak it well enough to get into deep thoughts or write in it or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anywhere that you live in North America, you're going to have lots of Spanish speaking people around. And I've always thought it's just a good idea, to learn it. But, I'm like you. I have French, but I forgot 90% of it already. So.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes I'm walking down and then I'm like, Spanish, French, Spanish, French. My mind's just kind of circling around the words, because I know French way better, but I also they're not dissimilar. They're both Latin, based, and so it's very. It's just one of those things. I just kind of go, I'm not going to be good at this. Let's just face it. And I'm used to being pretty good at stuff, so. I mean, in my own mind, at least, despite our name. So I just got to accept, being incompetent.
All right. Sounds good. Well, let's we'll leave it there. And very interested what we talk about next week when we do our update.
Me too.
And curious if that gigantic jug of tequila is going to be gone.
Well, it will be because I'm going to kill it.
All right. There's your project. That's Pat's new groove.
Who needs to write a book? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions.
Where she's going, nobody knows. Her paws are quick, her steps are light.